In this case, the place where the action is being done is in Korea, in 한국. 한국에서 means in Korea. And now we have this 2년. Now, number 2 in Korean, you can pronounce it as 이. So 2년. 2 obviously is 2, and 년 means year. So 2년 is 2 years. Now here we have our 통한. So this is what we're going to be practicing in this live stream. This is our 통한. And it's using this form here, right? Because 2 years is not a verb, right? It's not a verb, so that's why we don't use 는 통한. It's a noun. That's why we just use noun 통한. 2 years 통한 means during 2 years. During the duration of 2 years, 2년 동안, during 2 years, 살았어요. I lived. 살다 is the verb to live. And when it's conjugated into the past tense, this ed ending, lived in the past, it becomes 살았어요 in the past tense. So, as for me, in Korea, during 2 years, I lived. I lived in Korea for 2 years. And of course, you can change out any of these nouns or any of these words as to what suits your occasion. You can change the place. You could say 저는 미국에서 2년 동안 살았어요. I lived in the US for 2 years. You could change the year. You could say 3, 4, 5 years, however long that you want. You can do days, months, weeks, seconds, anything like that as well. You can change the verb as well. You can change this verb to, I studied in Korea for 2 years, or I worked in Korea for 2 years. You can change any of those verbs as well. All right. So this is sort of the ways that you can use 통한 in sentences in Korean. 통한. All right. So 통한 can be used with both nouns and action verbs. It is not used with descriptive verbs, which makes sense, right? A descriptive verb is things like hot, cold, pretty, smart, things like that. So you can't say like during pretty, right? Or during smart, or during tall. Like it doesn't make sense, right? So it has to be either a noun or an action verb. So an action verb is things like eat, drink, sleep, walk, things like that. Action verbs. With nouns, it's used to talk about a span of time. With action verbs, it means during or while. Okay, so the first things first, let's just look at how to conjugate 통한 with verbs. So, you can attach 통한 to the verb stem of an action verb to mean while you do that action. So while you do that action. And a really nice thing about 통한 is that you always attach 통한, or you always attach 는 통한, regardless of whether the verb ends in a consonant or a vowel sound. So if you've been studying Korean for a while,
사랑해.
Hi. You know that a lot of the grammar conjugations, they change a little bit depending on whether the verb ends on a vowel or a consonant. This is not one of those ones. So this one is always 는 통한. It doesn't matter what the verb ends on. Okay. So, for example, 가다. Oh, this is 자다, sorry. 자다 means to sleep. To sleep is 자다. So it becomes 자는 통한. In order to conjugate the verb, you start with 자다. You take away the 타. The 타 goes away. That's always the first thing that you do when you're conjugating anything in Korean. So the 타 goes away. You attach 는 통한. And that means while I sleep. while I sleep or during sleep is 자는 동안. 먹다 means to eat. 먹다. And again, in order to conjugate 는 동안 to say something like while I eat, first you take away 다 and you add 는 동안. 는 동안 means during sleep or while I eat. 먹다 is to eat. So this is while I eat. While I eat. 먹는 동안. 자는 동안, 먹는 동안. Other verbs include 기다리다. 기다리다 means to wait. To wait for something. So that becomes 기다리는 동안. While waiting. And 살다. 살다 we had before, right? We had it up here with 살았어요, to live. 살다 is the verb to live. But this one's tricky because it ends with this lir. And this is kind of an irregular verb. This is what this exclamation point means. It's a little bit special. It's a little bit funky. When you're conjugating these ones, the lir on the bottom goes away. And this is because when you combine lir plus nian, this lir generally goes away. So, 살다 plus 는 동안, because this nian is hitting this lir, that because they're coming into contact, this lir is going to go away. And it becomes 자는 동안. Is this going to be on your YouTube channel? Yes, it will be. 자는 동안 means during life or during living. But notice this is tricky, right? Because it means that there's another verb, 사다. 사다 also means to buy. 살다 means to live, but 사다 means to buy. So because 사다 just ends on this vowel sound, it also becomes 는 동안. So this is during buying, like while you're purchasing things. During buying. So they actually end up being conjugated the same way. 살다 becomes 사는 동안 and 사다 becomes 사는 동안. So just be aware of that. Depending on context, you'll have to figure out what the verb is, because just from this alone, it's impossible to know. But in the context of the sentence, it'll be pretty clear. 안녕, hello. So, 살다 becomes 사는 동안, which is what we see here. 사는 동안, while living, while alive, while living, things like that. Okay, what about this first? Let's put this into some actual sentences. Let's see it used. How is 는 동안 used in sentences? The first one we have here is 자는 동안 꿈을 꿔요. 자는 동안 꿈을 꿔요. So we have this verb here, 자는 동안. This is the same as up here, right? It means while sleeping. While sleeping. Does anyone know what 꿈 means? This thing here, 꿈. This word. 안녕하세요. Hello, 안녕하세요. Does anyone know what 꿈 means? 꿈, dream. Yeah, beautiful. 꿈 means dream. So while sleeping, and this you can probably guess from the noun, right? You probably know what this is going to say. This means while dreaming or while sleeping, I dream or I have a dream. While I sleep. I dream while I sleep. Some people don't. Some people don't dream while they sleep. I sometimes do. Occasionally I 꿈을 꿔요. I have a dream during my sleep. This is what this during part, this while part, this 는 동안. What about this next one? 자는 동안 꼴을 걸어요. This one, people, you may not know this word. It's not a very common thing to talk about, but you might know this noun, core. Does anyone know what core is? It's a body part. It's a part of your body. Core. You might recognize it. Nose, Zubedi. Yes. Core means nose. So, what's something that can happen with your nose while you sleep? Does anyone have a guess what 코를 골아요 means? 코를 골아요. This 골아요 one, you probably don't know this verb, right? But maybe you can guess, given that you're sleeping, 자는 동안 means while I sleep, something with my nose. My nose does something. Stuffed, it's close to that. It's related to that. It happens more when your nose is stuffed. When you have a runny nose, this happens more often. Certainly for me. Snore, yes. Call me kid, Zubara, yeah. 코를 골아요 means to snore. Alright. So, I snore while I sleep. I don't, of course. I don't snore while I sleep. But when my nose is really stuffed up, sometimes I do. Where am I from? I'm from New Zealand. All right. So let's do one more example here as well. I only snore when I'm sick. Yeah, same. It's only when I'm sick, right? When your nose is already stuffed up, that's when I snore. Otherwise, I never do, of course. All right. 공부하는 동안 커피를 마셔요. 공부하는 동안 커피를 마셔요. So what does this mean? I'm from South Korea. Hi, nice to meet you. You can come study with us if you like. You can practice English while you're here if you would like. 공부하는 komot. T-man. Yeah, call me. Nice. Good job. People are already getting the right answer, but let's break it down more slowly. So this first verb, 공부하다. What does 공부하다 what does 공부하다 mean in Korean? 공부하다. To study, yes. 공부하다 공부하다 means to study. And when you attach 는 동안 to 공부하다, it becomes while I study or during my studies. While I study, I do something. What is it that I do? I 커피를 마셔요. 커피를 마셔요. What does that mean? 커피. What is this verb? What is this noun in English? I drink coffee. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, T-Man. So the sentence in together means during my studies or while I study, I drink coffee. While I study, I drink coffee. Yeah. So again, this is just some examples of how you can use 동안 in sentences to say while you do something, something else also happens. Okay. So we looked at it with nouns. Now let's look at we looked at it with verbs. Let's look at it with some nouns as well. So, 동안 is commonly placed after time nouns. Commonly placed after time nouns to indicate that you do something for a period of time. Operative word, sort of this for a period of time. So, for example, question, what book is this? This book is Conversational Korean Grammar, and this is the cover. If you would like to see it or screenshot it, feel free to go ahead. We are in chapter 3 right now. So, example with some nouns. What is this here? So we have a 6, right? 욕, or 여섯. 여섯. So what is this time? 열심히 공부해요. 네. 6시간. What is this time? If you would translate that to English, what would that be? 6 hours. Valley Karam. Beautiful. Thank you. That is 6 hours. So if you say 6시간 동안, if you add 동안 after it, it means for 6 hours. During 6 hours. While 6 hours go by, you do something. 6시간 동안. What about this next one? 6개월. 개월. Does anyone know what 개월 is in Korean? It's another counter, kind of similar to 시간. 부пake, yeah. It means months. 6개월 is 6 months. So, 6개월 동안 means for 6 months. For 6 months. 6개월 동안. And notice how confusingly this one uses 6. The Sino-Korean numbers. Other way around. This one uses 여섯. But this one uses 6. So it's a little bit confusing, right? Korean has these two different number systems. One is the native Korean system. One is the Sino-Korean system. And they're used for different things. But in this case, this one uses 여섯 and this one uses 6. And the next one, yes, K-Dramaholic, yeah. 1년. 1년 is 1 year. 년 is the counter for years. So 1년 동안 means for 1 year. For the duration of 1 year. Okay. So now let's look at some... I need to move my camera a little bit, if I can. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. So what does this first sentence say? 1년 동안 한국에 살았어요. 1년 동안, we know, means for 1 year. For 1 year, what did I do? 한국에 살았어요. 한국에 살았어요. Does anyone recognize what that means? In particular, do you, yes, pupa K. Hanguk is the country, right, of Korea. And this 에 is kind of like in. In Korea, 살다. Salda is the verb to live. This is in the past tense. Notice this past tense marker. 살았어요. That's the past tense. So I lived in Korea for 1 year. For is this 동안. For 1 year. I lived in Korea for 1 year. And actually that is true for me. 저는 1년 동안 한국에 살았어요. Was it 1 year? Maybe actually it was a little bit less than 1 year. But around there. So, what about this next one? 6개월 동안 한국어를 공부했어요. What about this? What does it mean? 6개월, we just learned this before. This means 6 months. 6개월 동안 한국에 살았어요. 저는 1년 동안. You lived in Korea for 1 year. That's so cool. 6개월 동안 한국어를 공부했어요. Do I know you? Beautiful. Perfect. Timan, yeah. So this person is saying that for 6 months, 6개월 동안 한국어를 공부했어요. 한국어 is Korean. And this 했어요, 공부했어요 means studied. 공부하다 means to study. And this is in the past tense again. So this is the past tense. This is also the past tense. 공부했어요 is I studied. And then for 6 months is how long I studied Korean. For 6 months, Korean I studied. K-Dramaholic. I enrolled for Korean language program in Kyunghee University. Amazing. Good luck. Yeah, I think that'll be amazing. I studied Korean at Mokpo University. I did a language prep program there, and it was honestly one of like the best things I've ever done. I loved it. I had such a good time. So, yeah, please enjoy. Make the most of it. I'm sure it'll be an amazing once-in-a-lifetime experience. So cool. Okay, so let's maybe look at just one more example. Let's look at this one. 3주 동안 미국에 갔어요. So, 3주. What is... Oh, I already showed you the answer. Well, that's unfortunate. Milia, oh yeah, hello. I remember you. We were just talking about that. I'm glad we managed to figure that out. Okay, what about this one then, since we're kind of... Actually, they might have gave them all away. But some other examples of things you can say. 이 시간 동안 운동했어요. I worked out, I exercised for 2 hours. That's a lot. 3주 동안 미국에 갔어요. I went to America. I went to America for 3 weeks. And then we also have I traveled in England during the school break. 방학 is school break. So 방학 동안 is during the school break. 영국에서 in the UK, I traveled. I vacationed. 저는 yeah, you can add 저는 if you like. It is optional though. You don't have to have 저는 in every single sentence. From context, it might be clear that you're talking about yourself, in which case you don't need to use 저는. And when we get into these higher levels, when we're in, level 3, 4, 5, we tend to drop 저는 from these sentences and just assume it from context. What is this book? This book is Conversational Korean Grammar. This is the cover. England. Yeah, 영국 is England. England, yeah. I suppose, I'm not sure if Korean has different words for like England versus the UK. I'm not sure. But I guess 영국 technically is England. Don't know if it applies to the UK as well. Where can I find this book? This book is available from Amazon. Depending on what country you're in, you might have different options available. Barnes & Noble has it. Blackwell's in the UK has it. It's also, we do have PDFs on our website. If you prefer a digital copy, there are PDFs for sale as well. Okay. So, we have a little box here about what's the difference. So you may also know this grammar form. 으면서. The name of the book is Conversational Korean Grammar. So 으면서 is also used to talk about multiple actions. It's talking about actions doing while. So both of these grammar forms are commonly translated to while. So what is the difference? There's a couple differences. The big one to know about is that 는 동안 can be used when the subjects are different. So, for example, if you want to say something like, I study while my boyfriend cleans, or, my cat eats food while my dog chases a ball, I don't know, whatever it is, if the two subjects are different, you have to use 는 동안. 으면서 can only be used when the subjects are the same. So the subjects have to be the same when you use 으면서. This is the book, Conversational Korean Grammar. So if your subjects and your sentences are the same, if it's like, I do X while also doing Y, if I dream while I sleep, if I study while I listen to music, things like that, you can use either of these, and it's fine. Both of them are fine. But if you have different subjects, you need to use 는 동안. 으면서 doesn't make sense. It has to be the same person with 으면서. So that's a little tip to remember. If you do forget it and use the wrong one, everyone will still understand you, right? It's just they'll know what you're trying to say, but technically that is a rule to know about these things. All right. So an example of things like this, we have 제가 공부하는 동안 언니가 요리해요. So while 제가 is I, study, 공부하다 is to study. So while I study, my 언니, my older sister, cooks. So the subjects are different. We have the subject 제가 doing one action, and we have the subject 언니 doing the other action. So for a sentence like this, you have to use 동안. Using 하면서 does not make sense. You can't say that. Okay, so that's an example of that. Another difference is that 동안 is very commonly and can be used with time-related nouns. So a time-related noun is things like, during exam time, or during school hours, or during summer vacation, or during lunchtime, things like that. Nouns that are related to time can use 동안 to mean during that time, but 면서 cannot. 면서 can be used with nouns, but it's used in the 이면서 form, meaning while being some noun. So if you want to say something like, while I am a teacher, or while I am a mother, you can use 면서 for that. But if you want to say a sentence like, during exam time, I study a lot, or, during school break, I went to Korea, those sentences you have to use 동안, not 면서. So, for example, 저는 6개월 동안 한국어를 공부했어요 is fine. That means during 6 months, or for 6 months, I studied Korean. But you cannot use 면서 with the sentence. It does not make sense. 저는 6개월이면서 한국어를 공부했어요 is not correct. It does not make sense. Where am I from? I'm originally from New Zealand. So that's just some notes about how they're different. Except for these circumstances, they're very similar and they can be interchanged really easily. They are frequently interchangeable, except for these little small differences that it's good to be aware of. Okay? 아주 잘해요. 감사합니다. 안녕하세요. Okay, so after doing all of this, let's do some practice exercises using 동안. So, given the English sentences, write an equivalent Korean expression. So we're going to try and translate some of these sentences into Korean together on this live stream. All right, so the first one says, I listen to music while I work out. Okay, so the first thing, you're so good at Korean, 잘 하기는요. Okay, so, 웬들입니다. 필리핀 사람이에요. Oh, hello, Wendell from the Philippines. Welcome aboard. Okay, So how would we translate this into Korean? Let's start with I. We'll start with this. We're just going to say 저는. 저는 for when you're talking about yourself. So 저는. Now what do we say next? Let's put in this while I work out part. What is the verb that means to work out? Does anyone remember what the verb is to work out? 운동하면서. 운동하면서 you can use, except we're practicing Hongan specifically here. So we're going to use Hongan. 는 Hongan. 운동하다, yeah. 운동하다 is the verb to study. To exercise. My brain is slightly not working right now. Anyway, 운동하다 means to exercise. So in order to say while I exercise, we're going to use our 는 Hongan form. I just purchased this book. Yay! Thank you. I hope you like it. So to do this while, we're going to add our 는 Hongan. So 저는 운동하는 동안 means while I exercise, we do this, right? I listen to music. Katerina, hi. Hello, Kekeachu. I listen to music. So, what is the word? Timan, nice, beautiful. What is the word for music? Does anyone know how to say music in Korean? I do not stream every day, usually just twice a week. Music. 음악, putting socks. Yeah, beautiful. 음악. 음악을. So we're doing an action, right? We're doing the action of listening. So I'm using the object particle. And then to listen to is the verb 듣다. But be careful with this verb because it is an irregular verb and it becomes 들어요. Yeah, I see people saying it in the comments. Good job. 듣다 becomes 들어요 because it is an irregular verb. It's a digit irregular verb. How can you record this scene? I will upload it to YouTube later. 저는 운동하는 동안 음악을 들어요. Means, while I exercise, I listen to music. That's certainly a good way to exercise, right? It helps keep things going. It helps keep your energy up to listen to music while you exercise. 저는 운동하는 동안 음악을 들어요. All right. What about this next sentence? I will live in Korea for 2 years. Okay, I will live in Korea for 2 years. So the first thing we start with, let's put our 저는. Because we're talking about ourselves, 저는. All right, you're welcome. Okay, so now let's do our for 2 years. So, what is the counter for year in Korean? How do you say 2 years? We're going to have our 2, right? Because we've got our 2. How do I make this 2 years? There's a certain little sunset lee, yeah. 2년. So this is pronounced E in Korean. E is 2, 2년. You can also use do also means 2, right? And if you said 두년, people would understand you. But I think most people would say 2년 for this. 2년. 2년. And then we have this for, right? In order to get this for, we're talking about a duration of time. A duration of time. Yes, I am recording with my phone. Where for 2 years is where we're going to use our 동안. But this is a noun. 통한, sunset 리. Yeah, beautiful. So make sure you put a space and then write 통한. You might see it written all as one word, but technically you should have a little space between 2년 and 통한. 2년 통한 means for 2 years. A lot of Korean people, when they're speaking English, will say something like during 2 years because 동안 translates literally to during. But this is unnatural in English, right? If there's any Korean people watching that want to have a little English tip, instead of translating 동안 to during in these sentences, translate it to for. It's much more natural in English. For 2 years. Chris says hi. Hello, Chris. 2년 동안, for 2 years, I will live in Korea. Okay, first up, the word Korea. What is the word Korea in Korean? The word for Korea in Korean is Timan. Yes, OMFG, yes. 한국. Hangguk is Korea. Yeah, I see a lot of people getting that right. Good job. Hangguk. How do we say that we're going to live in some place? What particle should we use here? This is kind of a trick question because there's actually 2 particles that you can use. 대만, yeah, you can use You can use or you can use spoitse, yes, or you can use 애서. You can actually use either one, and both are correct. So I'm going to put this 하 in brackets because it's optional. You can say 한국에 or 한국에서. Both are correct. I will live. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky. We're going to be using our future tense in Korean, plus the verb to live. So what is the verb to live in Korean? To live in Korean. My handwriting is good. Oh my gosh, thanks. 살 거예요. Yeah, I see people already getting it right. But the verb to live is 살다. 살다 is to live. And when it becomes the future tense, it becomes 살 거예요. 살 거예요. Don't drop your Korean classes. Keep going. 살 거예요. 한국에서 살 거예요. That means I will live in the future for 2 years in Korea. I will live in Korea for 2 years. All right. Next we have, I went to Korea during school break with the space in between. Oh yeah, this should have a space. You're right. I'm going to add my little space. 살 거예요. It's good to have a little space here between the verb and 거예요. A lot of people will write it all as one word, but technically you should have a little space here to make your writing really neat and all perfectly good. Have a little space here. Thank you. All right. I went to Korea during school break. Okay, so during school break. First up, what is school break in Korean? It's not a super common word. I'm not expecting a lot of people to know it, perhaps. But school break. Oh, Valley Crump, beautiful. 방학. This is the book, Conversational Korean Grammar. Conversational Korean Grammar is the name of the book. 휴가. 휴가 also is pretty good. 휴가 is like time off. So you could possibly use 휴가 as well, but the one I'm looking for is 방학, which I see a lot of people saying in the comments, so thank you. So, during school break, 방학. How do I say during school break? What am I going to add here? During school break. 유튜브에서 당신의 채널 유튜브에서 Goose Apple Books 이라는 채널이에요. Goose Apple Books. 방학. How do I say during school break? 중에. Yes, you can also say 중에. That's fine as well. But I'm going to be asking for this one specifically since we're practicing it. 동안. Yeah, thank you. 동안. It's pretty late here in Italy. Go to sleep. Yeah, have a good night. Sleep well, and thank you for joining. 동안. 방학 동안 means during school break. During school break. I went to Korea. Yeah, subject was one thing, other people do another. Yes, correct. I mentioned that up here. 동안 is used when the subjects are different. All right. I went to Korea during school break. 방학 동안 during school break. 한국에. Yes, thank you. 한국에 means to Korea. To Korea. 한국에. Timan. Yeah. Okay. Good job. I went. What is the present tense verb to go? If you're going to say the present tense, what is the verb to go? I know lots of you are already jumping ahead. Boise, yes. 가다 is the present tense. 가다. And in the past tense, it becomes 갔어요. 갔어요. So, 방학 동안 한국에 갔어요. Whoop! Oh my gosh, my pencil broke. 갔어요. During school break, I went to Korea. 방학 동안 한국에 갔어요. I went to Korea during school break. So this one, you don't add 는 here. It's without the 는 because 방학 is a noun. When you have nouns, it's just space, 동안. If you're using it with a verb, then you add 는 동안. Yes. So if it's a noun, you have the little space. In this case, 방학 is a noun. Whereas like a verb like this, 운동하다 is a verb, right? So that's why it's 는 동안. 2년 is also a noun, so it's also a space, 동안. So it just depends on whether it's a noun or a verb. Yeah, you're welcome. My voice is ASMR. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Okay, so last one here. We have, I work while my older sister sleeps. Yes, Boise, good job. All right, so let's break it down bit by bit. The first thing we'll do is my older sister sleeps. While my older sister sleeps. Okay, so assuming that you are a girl, what is the word for older sister? If you are a girl, how do you say older sister? 언니, 통기리, yeah. 언니. I'm going to assume it's a girl for this sentence. What if you were a guy? If you are a boy, how do you say older sister? 누나, K-drama, yeah, 누나. So depending on which gender you are, it determines whether you say 언니 or 누나 for older sister. So since I am a girl, I would always say 언니. All right, so how do we say while my older sister sleeps? All right, so first up, let's put a particle here. Let's put a particle. We'll put the 는 particle because we're going to be using two contrasting subjects. 언니는 자는 동안. Yeah, good job. I see people saying that already. Is it more natural to ask? Okay, I had someone say that before. I'm going to get to that point. 언니는, the verb to sleep is 자다. So, when you add 는 동안, it becomes 자는 동안. I see lots of you are already saying it in the comments, so thank you. Good job. 자는 동안 means while sleeping. So, 언니는 자는 동안. Now, someone asked before, is it natural to say 언니는 자는 or 언니는 자면서? So, the reason why in this sentence it's more natural to use 동안 and not 면서 is because we have two different subjects. If you have two different subjects, I work while my sister does something else, you should use 동안. All of these sentences here above could use either because the subjects are the same in each of the clauses. I do this and I do that. I do this and I do that. But this one should use 면서 because it is this one should use 동안 because we have different subjects. This is the book Conversational Korean Grammar. So also people are asking about Tamil. So you can definitely add tam. In fact, let me add it just to make it even more clear. Tamil 자다 is to sleep. So let me just add that in, just to make clear that what I'm doing. 잠을 자다 is to sleep. You can drop 잠을 and just say 자는 동안 to mean while I'm sleeping, but this just makes it even more clear. 언니는 잠을 자는 동안 means while my older sister is sleeping. 잠을 자다. While my older sister sleeps, I work. How do I say I work? First up, let's start with I. 저는. What's the verb to work? 일해요. Thank you. 지상. 일해요 is to work. Okay. What does 잠을 mean? 잠 is literally sleep. So 잠을 자다 is like to do sleeping, kind of. But it's optional. You don't have to have it. But you commonly see it written like this as well. What's the difference between 언니가 and 언니는? They're very similar. And you could probably say 언니가 here and everyone would understand you. You could say 언니가 잠을 자는 동안 저는 일해요. You could say that and everyone would understand you. I just picked the 는 particle just because there's no particular reason why. You could also use the car particle here. I guess the reason I used 는 here is because I was going for a contrasting feeling, saying that, you know, my older sister, she's doing this, but I am doing this. That's kind of the feeling you have when you use the two nins like this. But you can also use car. It's okay. People will understand you. But yeah, that brings us to the end of this chapter. If you do buy this book, we do have some example sentences at the bottom that you can try. Also, I just saw that, like, you can write this two ways, right? So we said 언니는 잠을 자는 동안 저는 일해요. But in the answers, I don't know if you can read this upside down, but I wrote it the other way around in the answers, which is also fine, right? I said 저는 일하는 동안 언니가 잠을 자요. So either way you can do it, right? Because they're happening at the same time. So it doesn't matter which way you say first. Same in English. You can say, I work while my older sister sleeps, or you can say, while my older sister sleeps, I work. It's the same thing. So Keep in mind that if you do buy this book at the answers, there is never one exact answer, right? There are always little changes you can do, like this in versus car thing. There's always little different variations you can do. All of these can also use myeonso, that's fine as well. It's just for practice, just to give you that practice, how do you put sentences together? How do you remember your vocabulary? How do you remember your verbs? How do you conjugate your verbs? That's the sort of thing that we're practicing here. It's not so much about, the best way to form the sentence, the most natural way to form the sentence. It's just, how do I make a sentence that makes sense using the vocab that I know, the grammar that I know. Where am I from? I'm originally from New Zealand. Okay. Yes, this is the answers at the bottom. You can see, I can turn them around. This is, they're upside down to make it harder, a little bit harder to read. But those are the answers at the bottom. How do you say cashier person? Is it okay to say geso jigwon? I'm not 100% sure about the best way to say cashier person. If there's any native speakers here, feel free to say, chip in how you would say cashier person. I'm not 100% sure. But that brings us to the end of this live stream. We talked about 동안, which is used to talk about two actions or two durations of action, two durations of time. This is the book, Conversational Korean Grammar. How often do I do live streams? Usually twice a week. I missed my live streams last week because I was sick, COVID last week. So apologies if anyone was waiting for me to go live stream last week. I was sick. But usually I go twice a week on usually Thursdays and either Saturdays or Sundays, kind of depending on my schedule. 라이브 해줘서 감사합니다. 네, 감사합니다, 여러분. Thank you for coming. And we have covered previous live streams and they are up on YouTube. I will also post this live stream on YouTube. If you want to go back and watch it again or, watch previous ones, you can check that out. There is a link to it in our profile you can find as well. 출나변. Yeah, okay, cool. That looks good too for a cashier person. Thank you for supplying that. Okay, thank you guys all for being here. Hope you enjoyed the live stream. If you're interested in the book, definitely check it out. It is available online if you have Amazon in your country. If you do not have Amazon in your country, there are some other bookstores that have it, like Blackwell's, Aldi Breeze, some other ones as well. If you prefer digital, the PDF is also available and it's cheaper. So the PDF you can buy, it is cheaper. And if you like to have it on your tablet, you can do that. You can also buy it and print it out yourself if you want. If shipping's really expensive or if you want to do that, you can buy the PDF and print it. But just keep in mind that it is a very large book. It's almost 300 pages. So printing costs will not be cheap if you want to do it yourself, but it's always an option. So I will keep going again next week or on Saturday or Sunday. We're going to be looking at the next ones, which is kona and maybe also ui. But for now,